do you say to those folks who don't understand what Nasdaq is or what you do?
I say it's a phenomenon.
What's your superpower that's allowed you to thrive in the way that you have?
I've always been considered the person who gets things done at home and at work, by the way.
Taekwondo, black belt. Have you ever been knocked out?
Never been knocked out, but definitely been knocked down.
What did you think of the recent Gamestop Robinhood controversy?
Every investor can make their own decisions.
Let me push you a little bit on this.
The Carlos Watson Show is brought to you by American Family Insurance.
Hey family, it's Carlos Watson. Got a very important guest today. Adena Friedman, CEO of Nasdaq. You know, the most important stock exchange in the world. She's stopping by. Now you may say to me, hey Carlos, I don't trade stocks. Guess what? Everyone's involved in the stock market. You just don't know it. Your retirement, all of that stuff, this woman may have as big an impact on it as any president in your lifetime. Pay attention. This is going to be a good conversation. Hey, Adena.
Oh, hey, Ozzy. Hey, Carlos. How are you?
Good. You know, it's so funny. Actually, one of my old assistants used to put me in her phone as Ozzy, and I like that. I took that as a tribute. I absolutely loved it. That's good. Now, has anyone ever called you Nasdaq?
Not yet. That would be pretty funny, though. I've been at Nasdaq for so long that I'm actually surprised that at some point it hasn't happened yet. So.
Right. Hey, I was watching you do your TED Talk. How comfortable were you doing that? Were you nervous?
It was hard because you have 12 minutes to convey everything you want to convey. Capitalism. It's clearly a word that carries a lot of controversy with it these days. I think the fact that I've had an opportunity to do a lot of larger and larger speaking opportunities has made it more comfortable for me. What if we could treat our personal data like an investment portfolio? We can create markets of tomorrow for people, with people, and for the benefit of more people.
I didn't appreciate that Nasdaq is like a $25 billion market cap company. You guys have $2 billion in revenues. It's funny, I've thought about it as an exchange and a place that people are buying and selling stocks, but I didn't stop to think that you guys have a market cap that's like 3 times the New York Times. Like, it's a pretty meaty, pretty substantive company. What do you say to those folks who don't understand exactly what Nasdaq is or what you do? How do you explain it?
Nasdaq today is a global technology company that serves the capital market. We leverage our technology to manage our own markets, and we have great markets in the US. But we also now provide that technology to power 130 other markets around the world. And then we have a very scaled index business, $350 billion of assets under management tied to our indexes, and a data and analytics platform that serves the investment management community.
Were you like always predestined to be in finance and to be in the markets, or was there a moment when you were thinking about doing something very different? How did you end up at Nasdaq?
I grew up with in a family that understands investments. My father was the chief investment officer of T. Rowe Price. As a kid, I would go to the office with him. I'd sit down on the trading desk and they'd teach me things and let me actually draw on their whiteboards also. I wouldn't say it was predestined, but I certainly think my early years definitely helped me understand that finance was accessible and something I could get into and be good at.
And you left for a little bit.
I really enjoyed my job at Nasdaq. I was the CFO of Nasdaq at the time, but I was working in New York and my family lives in Washington, D.C., and the kids were entering those years where it was harder to be away. I got a cold call from a recruiting firm asking if I'd be interested in the CFO role at Carlyle. They were looking for a CFO who would help them go public. Rarely in your career do you really have that opportunity to take a company public. It allowed me to live and work in the same city. 3 years in, the CEO of Nasdaq called and asked if I'd come back as the president to come run most of the business units. Coming back to Nasdaq, though, was the best thing I could have done.
What's been the hardest thing about being a mom?
Gosh, it's always going to be work-life balance. My children are now in their 20s, so it's a little bit easier today. But going up through my career, I had the children young. I had children all the way through my career. That work-life balance is always going to be the hardest thing.
Any interesting tricks or tactics or things you did that you think helped you manage the balance well that you would offer on to other parents who are watching?
The most important thing is to communicate with your manager. So when I got pregnant for the first time, I went to my manager and I said, here I am pregnant. And I didn't really know what that was going to mean. What does that mean for my life? No one knows when you first are going through it. And luckily he had children. And so it really helped because he was very much, okay, what are we going to do to make this work for you? How are we going to find the balance? He allowed me to work part-time for 3 years. And I took that opportunity. So if someone gives you that opportunity early in your time as a parent, try it, see whether it works for you. But for me, it was a great way to get a little bit of that balance I needed early. And then I still was promoted twice, actually, while I was working part-time. That then allowed me, when I came back full-time, to really propel my career forward. But talk to your manager, be open about it, try to find a path forward. Don't internalize it all and think you have to handle it all yourself. Talk to people and have them help you.
Growing up in the Baltimore area, did it shape you in any way, or was it just the place that you grew up in? You think you would have been a similar Adena if you'd grown up in, Miami or San Francisco or other places?
I do actually think Baltimore shaped me a lot. I love Baltimore, but it has a lot of challenges. I was very privileged. I lived in I went to an all-girls school, and I have to say all-girls education was actually really helped shape me and gave me confidence. And I also never accepted that the status quo is how it should be. Recognizing that Baltimore has a road to go down to create opportunity for all was something that really kind of got into my heart. I think that as a result, that's been a big part of the current purpose initiative we have at Nasdaq, one where we really are striving for inclusive growth and prosperity. What can we do to provide opportunities for entrepreneurs from all backgrounds reach their potential? How can we also put together financial literacy programs that really help the broader population become a part of the economy in a more meaningful way?
I so appreciate that. I so appreciate what you've done with board diversity as well.
The Nasdaq Stock Exchange wants to require listed companies to hire at least one woman and one underrepresented minority.
I think your announcements and your decisions on that, I think, have catalyzed and emboldened other people to kind of join the fight.
Be fearless! We can do it! I believe in you! We can do it faster!
The Our Home is the training ground for her dreams policy. Insure carefully. Dream fearlessly.
What's your superpower, Adena, do you think? Because as you said, not many people get some of these particular roles, and certainly not to be CEO of something like Nasdaq. I'm sure you're good at a lot of things, but is there a particular superpower you think you have that's allowed you to break through and allow you to thrive in the way that you have?
I know I've always been considered the person who gets things done at home and at work, by the way. So whenever there's something at home that needs to get done, tell mom, she'll get it done. But also at work, I've always been that person where even early in my career, I showed myself to be someone who could really get things done quickly, get things done well. I think the other thing is I have a lot of energy, a lot of positive energy. I'm an eternal optimist. And so I like to think that I'm the type of person that can bring people along with me instead of dragging people along behind me as we are propelling the business forward. I was talking to a group this morning. They were asking me what's changed in the industry as a woman, in my career. And my answer was that the change went from the head to the heart. Like the CEOs at first were thinking with their heads and saying, we've got to make more opportunity for women. But the next generation of leaders brought their hearts to it. And you've seen just a big, big progression in gender equality in the industry. Not that we're where we need to be, but it's been, and that's, so I talk exactly like that. Going from your head to the heart, that's what creates change.
What has surprised you the most about the business world or about economics over the last, call it, half dozen years?
The pace of change continues to accelerate. And it's just amazing to me how innovation is taking hold across all elements of the economy. The winners and losers then become those who embrace that change and embrace that innovation and can use it to propel their business forward. And those who either are complacent or just don't have the skills to bring that technology in and that innovation in, and they fall behind quickly. Complacency is the killer of every great company. Machine learning is the future of finance. Let's make sure that we bring in that talent and really apply it both defensively and offensively.
I'm fascinated by machine learning, artificial intelligence, the robots, as I call them, and the robots are coming. Do you think we'll see a world in which the robots run amok when it comes to trading?
You're seeing very large investment professional, investment management firms applying machine learning. I think that the challenge is to make sure that you still use judgment. I believe that the markets are a balance of human and machine. And you have to say that the machines can make it incredibly efficient, can synthesize a huge amount of data into a potential decision. But the humans need to be there to make sure that they're using their judgment to turn that potential decision into the right decision.
A wild ride on Wall Street.
Gamestop
suddenly saw its stock go up by 1,600%.
I'm gobsmacked.
Guys on Reddit figured out a way to get rich while bankrupting a bunch of hedge funds.
This is what's gripping America.
What did you think of the recent GameStop Robinhood controversy?
The first thing I would say, take a step back, and over the last year, we've really seen a whole new generation of young people getting involved in the markets. And that we see as a real positive. I think that the key, though, to be successful as an investor in the markets over the long term is to make sure you educate yourself. There are a lot of benefits to being involved in the markets, but there are also risks. So just understanding that balance and thinking about you as a long-term investor, in addition to doing some short-term trading, right? So now you kind of flip forward to what's happened over the last month, and you realize that with all of that engagement in the markets, there's a lot of new technologies out there that allow investors to speak to each other virtually and kind of come up with ideas and go into the markets. But you also have to recognize that you don't want to just kind of go with the herd. You want to be able to make your own decisions and think it through.
Let me push you a little bit on this, because I hear everything you're saying. Good or bad? Give it to me. I know all these questions are nuanced, but big picture, what happened with GameStop and what happened with the surge in participation from kind of everyday traders, the Reddit bros, if you will? You think a good thing, a bad thing, a thing?
I don't put a value on it, good or bad. I say it's a phenomenon. I think the key is for investors to be very mindful of how they participate in that phenomenon, understand it, the risks and benefits. And at the end of the day, I think we also have to look at ways that we can continue to evolve the markets to make it so that all these participants can come in and they also feel like they can come into a market that's, well functioning and fair. And that's our job.
Interesting. So, some of those seasoned traders said, I think this is going to end poorly. I think that some of the young people who are jumping in, while I understand their impetus and their interest, I think that this is going to end up with a lot of pain and a lot of heartache. You don't rush to that conclusion right away. You just say that we've got to be thoughtful about what's happening and that people have to be well informed. Do I hear that right?
I would say that we have to reflect on the fact that every investor can make their own decisions, and they are choosing to participate in a phenomenon. I would only, caution that just be very aware of what you're walking yourself into. Be very aware of the opportunity to both make and lose money, and just be mindful.
Bitcoin soaring to new record highs today.
Cryptocurrency is entirely digital and can be exchanged for goods on certain websites.
In the last month, Bitcoin has doubled.
How do you think about crypto?
I would actually look at it a little bit of a higher level. Digital currencies in general, I think, are here to stay. I think it's actually the next age of technological innovation to allow for money to flow from buyer to seller and to fuel commerce over time. And I think you're going to see more central banks get more engaged around the world in trying to digitize their currency to make it so that it's, the flow of capital is more efficient.
How worried are you that after having an amazing run in the stock markets, even post-COVID, that we are headed for a near-term correction in some way?
I think you have to kind of look at all the ingredients, and then I'm not going to give you a prediction.
By the way, Adena, who was here the other day was your boy Jim Cramer, who was handing out predictions left, right, and center.
I'll let him give you the predictions.
Right.
What are the ingredients that are driving the current market behaviors? I think the first thing is obviously very accommodating monetary policy, which has brought rates down, which also means that the alternative ways to generate a return are just not as attractive as they used to be, right? So if you're a fixed income investor or elsewhere, you're just not getting the same return because the rates are just so low. So then within the equities markets, what's winning and what's losing? You're seeing real shifts towards the technology that is allowing us to operate in a remote environment. You're seeing moves away from some of what I would say the more in-person types of companies. But you're also seeing now, a year into the crisis, as we're starting to come out of it with the vaccines, you're going to start to see a shift around in terms of what's the world going to look like a year from now. You have to look at all of those things together to say that's what's driving some of the values in the market. And whether or not that continues, especially with more fiscal stimulus, is really one of the questions that people asking. Can we recover as an economy as fast as we hope and think we might? That's going to be another factor that people consider. And all of those things will then drive themselves into the markets over the next several months.
I hear you nodding to the Fed and to what they're doing with stimulus. So we'll all wait and see. We'll all see together. Most interesting advice you've either gotten or given about dreaming fearlessly. You know, so many people are hesitant to really go there and not only dream fearlessly, but bring it alive. What's the best advice, Adena, you've either gotten or given?
I always talk about the power of yes. You know, if someone comes to you with an opportunity and you're like, gosh, I don't know if I'm ready for it, say yes. And then figure it out. So if they think you're ready for the opportunity, you're probably ready for the opportunity, even if you don't realize it yet. But the fact is that hold back that hesitation, say yes, go home, talk to someone you trust to go, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? Come back to the office the next day and say, I am so excited, this is going to be great. And use that fear, you know, to power yourself, to really fuel yourself, to motivate yourself to do a great job. Because I think that's early on, I learned how to harness that fear to really put more effort and energy into succeeding. And that then generated success, which then the next time I was given an opportunity, I didn't have the fear. I was like, well, I succeeded last time, I've got to succeed this time. So it's just allowing yourself to work through it and realize the power of yes. That's the key.
I want to try a little something called rapid fire. Your favorite book?
Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance.
Favorite TV show or movie?
Right now, I really love The Marvelous Miss Maisel.
If finance hadn't worked out, what else might you have done?
When I was a kid, I wanted to be an astronaut.
Taekwondo, black belt. Have you ever been knocked out?
Never been knocked out, but definitely been knocked down, no doubt about it.
Who's your best mentor?
One of the CEOs I really admire is Satya Nadella in terms of how he's been able to continue to transform Microsoft to being what it is today and the empathetic leadership that he conveys and shows every day at the office.
Adena, what a pleasure. I hope this is only the first of several visits. I hope you'll come back again in the future.
Great. Thank you so much. It was great to see you, Carlos. Thank you.
Who would like in on Adena Friedman?
I wish we'd gotten a stock prediction from her.
She was a little cagey on those. She didn't want to give up who the interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've been following the Gamestop and the Wall Street Bets, Reddit, all that sort of stuff. So I've been, I'm like, maybe I should get involved in stocks. Maybe I should learn a little bit more about this. And I was hoping she would give us something.
She said something that Lloyd Blankfein, ex-Goldman CEO, said too, which is, remember, it's not just that you can win, but you can lose.
Loved her little sporty moto jacket that wasn't like a Cardi set with pearls, it was a little unexpected. She was just kind of straight to the point, didn't seem to need to like embellish or use big words. Like she just seemed very down to earth. I almost feel like she could be like my kid's carpool mom.
The moment for me was when she said, people always ask me to do something. She's like, whether it's mom at home or at work, I'm a get it done kind of person, which I thought was interesting.
And you don't hear many men actually saying that. Like for her to come as like a CEO to say that, it's the truth. She's getting pulled in so many different directions being female and trying to run a company and I'm sure run a family. And I thought it was cool that she brought that up.
Who else wants to jump in on Adena Friedman?
The thing I loved about her is that she really brought tech into Nasdaq, into Wall Street. That was something that she was really proud of and something that needed to happen. And I think that's pretty awesome.
I felt like she didn't give me good examples. I felt like she kind of held back a little bit and kind of played defense.
She was close to the chest in a lot of things.
Yes.
Yeah.
She was a little bit like that, and we now have had several people who are a little close to the vest a little bit. I understand that, but it's always going to be more fun if you not only wear the biker jacket, but you go for a ride. You know what I mean?
Vroom, vroom.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed Adena Friedman. She's rocking it these days. Nasdaq seems to be where all the action is, whether it's your boys who are pushing Gamestop or whether it's big companies like Apple and Tesla that are becoming trillion-dollar companies. She's kind of right at the heart of it. And what an interesting person. Kind of marries a little bit of Baltimore, the daughter of another finance person herself, and someone who says that she's a get-it-done woman. I like those kind of people. Hey, if you're enjoying the show, remember we've always got more good episodes. You can subscribe, you can tell your good people about it, and listen to the podcast. Give it a try. See you soon.